Hello, my name is Shamika, and I will be speaking with you today about the No Child Left Behind Act of 2001. Have you ever heard of this law? It was put into place by President George W. Bush to hold schools accountable for how students learn. It was primarily used to measure the progress of disadvantaged students in lower income neighborhoods. You would think that a law that was aimed at educating children would be good, right? Well, it wasn't. There was much controversy surrounding this law. A lot of it had to do with the standardized testing that the law put in place. So students in grades 3 through 8 and 10 through 12 had to take testing. Now, I don't know if you had to take these tests, but I'm sure you did if you went to a Maryland school. Math testing, all throughout elementary, middle, and high school. You had to take these tests. That's mostly because of this law. I don't think many lawmakers, and I agree, and teachers did not think that that was an adequate way to measure whether students were learning or not. Not all kids test the same way. Not all kids learn the same way. So saying, hey, if you get this score, you're proficient, and if you don't get this score, then you're not proficient, is not adequate. It also caused these schools to basically test to teach because there's a lot of penalties that the schools were getting if they weren't making adequate yearly progress. And that's the biggest controversy surrounding this law, the penalties that the schools were getting. So, and pulled up behind me on the screen, you can see some of the penalties that the schools were facing if they didn't make adequate yearly progress. Corrective action, right here. That means that including restructuring. Restructuring means that they could close the schools, which means that people are going to lose their jobs. Decrease management authority down here. Reopen the school as a charter school, which means that a lot of people are going to lose their job. That gives them incentive to lie. That gives them motivation to say that these kids are passing even if they're not, because no one wants to lose their job. If they're closing the schools, then the districts are gonna lose funding. That's another motivation to say, hey, these kids are passing these tests even if they're not. I'm going to show a video in which this very scenario happened.
In 4 years, he has passed just 3 classes, earning 2.5 credits, which places him in ninth grade. But Fran says she didn't know that until February. She has 3 children and works 3 jobs. She thought her oldest son was doing well because even though he failed most of his classes, he was being promoted. His transcripts show he failed Spanish 1 and Algebra 1, but was promoted to Spanish 2 and Algebra 2. He also failed English 2, but was passed on to English 3.
I'm just assuming that if you are passing, that you have the proper things, to go to the next grade, and the right grades, you have the right credits.
As we dig deeper into her son's records, we can see in his first 3 years at Augusta Fells, he failed 22 classes and was late or absent 272 times.
So as you can see, they passed him even though they knew he wasn't passing his classes. And there are many, many cases like this in Baltimore City, especially. And it's really sad, and it's a disadvantage to these kids because with no life skills, where's they're going to leave him? He's going to go out there. If you're passing these kids and they're not learning anything, there's nothing that they're going to be able to do. And I grew up in Baltimore City. I went to Baltimore City schools, and I've seen firsthand them passing kids along who have never come to school. They barely come to school, and yet they're in the same grade as me. And other kids who are working hard to pass these classes, and how are they in the same grade as me when they're hardly here? It's a disadvantage because they're going to go out into the world with no life skills, with nothing learned. And then the only thing and I've seen it firsthand, the only thing that they're going to be able to do is they're going to I've seen it, they turn to the streets because they don't have anything to do. What job are they going to get with no math skills, no reading skills? What are they going to be able to do? They haven't had anything, there's nothing that they can do but turn to the streets. This article I found recently, this is from this year. Baltimore City high schools, 13 high schools, none of them passed the math test. 0 students proficient in math in 13 high schools. That is sad and ridiculous and unacceptable. Something needs to be done about it because it's completely unacceptable. This here is the Maryland State Education Association. This is how parents can get involved. If you want, parents and adults can get involved. You can either donate to PEG, which is the Maryland State Education Fund for Children in Public Education, or you can stay connected by signing up for email updates to receive the latest news in education and you stay up to date so you can know what's going on, so you can join the advocates for students because these students need someone to advocate for them. I hope you enjoyed the speech. Thank you and have a good day.